What's up? It's Dr. James reporting to you. Um, just stopped driving. I didn't want to record this video while I was driving. Um, Someone once gave me feedback that it wasn't as clear because I was driving, so I try to take that into consideration. So while I'm stopped, I want to address this real quickly. I want to address the Netflix film Cutie. So I watched this film because I'm not one who likes to operate off of conjecture. I like to get all of the facts, all of the information, um, in order to give a sound critique and judgment of something. So I saw a lot of people critiquing the film or critiquing the pictures and what was posted, um, and they admitted that they didn't watch the film or whatever. So I watched the film. Before I get into anything, I want to say that I'm going to reveal a lot of information about the film. So you can stop watching right now if you intend to watch, and you don't want me to spoil it for you. So spoiler alert: I'm going to reveal information about the film. Um, so yeah, so that's one thing. And before I go deep into what took place in the film and what it's about, I want to say that regardless of the message in the film, I would not let my child or any child that I had a say so in, or I wouldn't even recommend any child, any parent let their child, any guardian let their child play such a role um, that was in the film of the main character or any of the characters. So I want to start by saying that a lot of people, a lot of the outrage from people, just seeing the trailer for the film or just seeing short clips from the film, a lot of the outrage is over the fact that these are young girls. They're actually 10 and 11 years old. And that's where my outrage comes from. The fact that these are actual young girls. My whole thing is, why couldn't they get someone who was older but looked younger to play the role rather than getting actual 9, 10, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds to play such a role and do the things that they were doing? So yeah. So when you watch the film Cutie, it takes place in France. It's about a young girl, a Muslim family, black, and it's like in between two extremes. But I'll get to that later. Young girl, black, around 11 years old. It's her mother, and her younger brother, who she takes care of a lot. She has two younger brothers. One is around like 4 or 5, and then there's a baby that's fairly new, probably 10 months, 1 years old, something like that. And she's taking care of them a lot because the mother is busy working, things like that. And the father has not yet arrived in the new home because he's off. He's found a new wife to bring into the family, and he's waiting to arrive with her. And when he arrives with the new wife, they're going to have a wedding and all of that stuff. So this young girl is seeing, all of the things that are taking place in her culture. She notices that her mom is not happy that the father has acquired a new wife. And, she's saddened for the mother. And one of the scenes, she's underneath the bed and she hears the mother talking to the auntie, her mother's aunt. So it would be her great aunt. She hears the mother and her talking to one another. And she's underneath the bed and she hears the mother talking to the auntie, her mother's aunt. So it would be her great aunt. She hears the mother and her talking to one another, and how the mother is saddened by the fact that she has um her husband is bringing home a new wife. So the little girl is saddened by this. She's saddened by um the thing that she's noticing in her culture. So when she goes out, she starts to lose respect for her father. One of the scenes in the movie, the mother brings the phone to her. I'm like, here, speak. Your father's on the phone, and she just throws the phone out of the window. That's a different story. That's disrespectful, regardless of how you're feeling. Um, but she goes out into the world. In one of the first scenes, she sees another girl who's not a part of this culture dancing in the laundry room and being all wild and vulgar and stuff like that. And she's attracted to it. It's like a sense of freedom to her because in her culture, you're covering your hair, covering your head, covering your body, wearing these long garments, and this little young girl is wearing all of this, you know, free apparel or whatever. Um, in the film, they call it whorish and slutty. In the film, they call it that. So that's how this young girl is dressed. She becomes attracted to that. She's dressed that way and dancing, so she's just attracted to that. She begins to follow, like after the things she's seeing with this girl and her friends. One of the first day of school, she sees the girl with her friends, and they're called the Cuties, and they do these dances and stuff like that. So she wants to become a part of the in crowd. She wants to follow them, and be cool. So it's about peer pressure and stuff like that because she ends up stealing someone's phone in order to have access to social media and stuff like that. Then she starts posting things for likes, inappropriate things for likes and stuff like that. Is not in support of that type of behavior. The film is not in support of that type of behavior. Throughout the film, this girl, this Muslim girl, does all of these inappropriate things, and her mom and her aunt are trying to get her back to the way of their culture. She's doing all of these different things. One time she's suspended from school because she stabbed one of her classmates like in the hand with like a pen. He slapped her on the butt, and you'll see why he did that. He didn't have respect for her because of some she uploaded. And then they're like, she gets home and the mom and the auntie are like praying for her. They're throwing like holy water on her and stuff. These things happen throughout the film. At the end of the film, the girl is on stage and she's dancing with the Cuties, and that's where the main scene, the main trailer where they're wearing the blue and they got the highlights and stuff on. The girl comes to realization on her own in the middle of the performance that this is wrong. She no longer wants to do it, and she runs home. Mind you, this is the day of her father's wedding. But she runs home, and when she gets inside the house, the apartment, because they live in an apartment, the auntie is yelling at her. Like, what's wrong with you? You've gone too far. You've strayed away from, everything we've been teaching you and stuff like that. Her mother comes to her defense and was like, stop yelling at my daughter. It's the mother's aunt. And she tells the aunt, stop yelling at my daughter, enough, enough. and the auntie stops. And then the daughter hugs her mom. And then the mother tells the daughter, like, you know what? So the mother is no longer mad at her. The mother tells her, you know, you don't even have to come to your father's wedding, because she knows that the daughter didn't approve of the mother, of the father having another wife, because the mother didn't even approve of him having another wife. She just was going along with it because it's a part of the culture, and she's been taught and told, like, she has to be okay with it. So this is now at the end of the movie. The girl puts on modest clothing. She's not wearing a dress. She's not wearing like a Muslim garment or anything like that, not covering her hair. But she puts on, regular, I would say regular modern clothing for a 10 or 11-year-old that's not inappropriate. She's wearing like baggy pants, not tight, and she's wearing a shirt that's also baggy but covered up. I don't even want my kid to go for such a role. Like, it ain't that serious. It is not that serious. It's inappropriate. It's simply inappropriate. So if a role is inappropriate for a 10, 11-year-old, I don't care what message you are conveying. There's pedophiles. Would you have your child play a role where the 10, 11-year-old is literally kissing a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, just to convey the message that there's pedophilia? This is the same scenario. You can say sex isn't taking place or kissing isn't taking place, but those girls are really dancing that way. They're really wearing those clothes. This is stuff is really taking place. They're not acting like they're wearing those clothes. They're not acting like they're dancing that way. They're really dancing that way. The camera's really zoomed in on their crotch. All this stuff is taking place. You can convey the message in a different way. You could do a documentary on this type of stuff, showing how the effects of peer pressure, showing what takes place with these dancing groups and at these dancing competitions. You could do a documentary on it and reveal the ugly truth, and people will be just as disgusted. Because I was disgusted watching the film. There's actually a scene in the film where one of the security guards is straight up a pedophile. Like, when they break into like a laser tag place and they're about to get in trouble, and there's like, fast forward, they're like, we can't get in trouble, we're dancers, and they start dancing for the guy, and he's like feeling it. He's like looking at them like, okay, I'm gonna let you go because they did this like, vulgar dance and all this stuff for him. So there's all types of nonsense that takes place in this film, and you don't need actual kids to convey the message. And if you do, like I said, you can do it if we're trying to get at how this takes place in real life. You can do a documentary with these dance competitions. You can do a documentary on the different things that people post, kids post on social media and things like that, and get the ugly truth out there. So that's the part of the film that I have a problem with Hollywood promoting this type of behavior. And another thing I want to get at is a lot of people are angry at this film because it's promoting sexuality with young kids. And that's the problem with Hollywood. That's what they do. And some of the people who are mad at this, you also should be mad at Dwayne Wade and what he's doing. Because is he not promoting sexuality with his son? Like, just like that is inappropriate, isn't this inappropriate? And isn't there another clip of him talking about the sexuality of his son? Didn't he say his son was a heterosexual girl? I don't want to hear about the sexuality of a 12-year-old. And your son or daughter should not be the face of the LGBTQ plus community. We shouldn't be hearing about the sexuality of a kid. You are a kid. And I don't like how they're promoting it like kids are old enough to make these type of decisions. A kid can't choose his gender. A kid can't choose his sexuality. You're not old enough. You're not mature enough. You're not knowledgeable enough. And the more Hollywood tries to convince us that they are, that's where we get closer and closer to the legalization of pedophilia. I've been saying this for almost a year. So, like I said, I watched the film. I understand the outrage. Even after watching the film, I still understand the outrage. I get the message. The message is a good message, but it was conveyed poorly. And I still think I still know it's inappropriate for little girls to be dressed that way and dancing that way. And that's the whole point. It's inappropriate. So I understand the outrage. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say. Stop promoting, the sexuality of these young kids for your own agenda. Stop trying to get them attention. Wait till they're of age. A lot of this stuff is just nonsense that they're pushing on kids.
Issue. When a child comes home with anything, it's our job as parents to listen to that, to give them the best information that we can, the best feedback that we can. And that doesn't change because sexuality is now involved in it. So